Oh boy, here we are. Here we are.
There we are. Oh, look at how big I am in the screen.
You are very, very big. I could fix that. Do you want to fix
It's
that?
it's it's fine. It's fine.
No,
I'm up close and personal. It's not a big deal.
no, it's fine. I should make you. Oh yeah, I can hear. That's my first technical. That's my first technical piece.
It's all working. Everything's fine.
It's
Everything's
fine.
fine.
It's fine. Let me widen you out, and then maybe make you a little bit.
Oh, we don't need to make me whiter. That's definitely not what we need to do. Hi,
How,
everybody. If you're here,
how's that?
say hello. Let
Is
us
that
know that
better?
you're here. Mr. Dom Cobb,
Is that better?
welcome.
Is that
Welcome to the
better?
stream.
Oh, here we
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, you're a little off the. You gotta go like right to the middle of that border, right?
Okay.
We don't want any letterboxing. This isn't the Snyder cut, okay?
How's that? Is that better?
Beautiful.
Better.
Way to fix OBS. Wow, we're live.
Should
on
I make
Twitch.
myself? Should I zoom myself in now?
I mean, you could.
I should.
We have
I
time.
should. I
We're
should.
not
I should make myself. I should make myself
also
bigger.
virtual background, so I'm like clipping like crazy.
Oh,
Yeah, fix yourself. Fix yourself.
how's that? That's better. Yeah.
It's better. Yeah, no, that's great. Look at that. We're almost the same size now.
So I should make myself bigger. Okay.
No.
Yeah, I should make
Yeah,
myself bigger.
yeah. Really blow it up, Brandon. You're in control. You do you.
All right, I'm doing it. This is great. We're doing some solid work here.
It's the best you're ever gonna look on this podcast because it's actually your webcam this time.
Look at that. Look at that. It's almost like we're basically even now. I just need
Yeah.
to raise you in the frame just a little bit.
We're peers now.
Maybe just lower you in the frame. I'm using the arrow keys right now to just lower you in the frame. Okay.
I think it works.
I look
I
pretty
think it
good.
works.
I look pretty good, but
Perfection is the enemy of good enough.
a little bit bigger. There we go. I do have a pretty big head. Oh no, now one side, you're clipping into my side. Don't want that. There we go. Fixed it.
This way?
Fixed it.
This way?
But now I feel
way?
really big.
No.
Maybe
I'm
I'll
this
make
way.
you smaller.
You're this way. You're over here.
I'll make you a little smaller. How about do that? Make you a little bit smaller, and because I liked mine, but you're
Hey
already,
guys, welcome to the stream where we see how long you'll sit and watch Brandon adjust OBS. This is apathetic enthusiasm.
S. I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not.
BS.
I'm not
Oh,
the
that BS.
I'm not the what is it? The design oriented person.
The
Here.
live producer.
No, I'm doing fine live producing. I think
You're doing great.
I think I'm doing
No,
fine
you're
live
doing great.
producing. Usually we're not doing
Fantastic.
that on camera with the mics on when we're live producing. We're in the back. We're behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
I think it's really important that we show the behind the scenes for folks who are coming into the stream to watch and
yeah,
to
this
learn.
is how the magic happens. I
Mhm.
mean, everything you see takes work. None of this just happens.
Everything in its right place. It's a great song by Radiohead. It's off their Kid A album, as a matter of fact.
Matter of fact,
Matter of
Brandon, you ready to make a podcast?
I think so. I know you. I know you're like, hey, we gotta go. I'm ignoring.
No,
my
I'm
family for this.
I just know that my family is not here right now.
Oh.
But that could change at any
Okay.
moment.
All right. Deal. Okay. You recording in Reaper?
I was, and now I'm gonna delete it all
Oh.
and go back to the beginning.
Oh, you didn't
There we
have
go.
to. You didn't have to. That was fun.
Now I'm recording. Now
All
I'm
right.
recording.
All right.
Yeah.
Here we go. In 5, 4, 3. Go ahead and start recording. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Okay. And away we go.
You asked for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
In this episode, we're talking about the Snyder Cut and vacation and other things. It's Apathetic Enthusiasm.
It is Apathetic Enthusiasm, brought to you by Gin Carly. Gin Carly, the car of the future, tomorrow.
Yeah. fossil fuels are out, gin is in. Gin Carly, the car that runs on gin.
That's right. Gin Carly, not to be confused with gin barley, which is I don't gin's not made from barley, is it?
No, I believe gin is. It's not rice. Gin is.
Gin is like it's like a seed, I think.
Sure. If you know the grain that is fermented in order to make gin, go ahead and leave that in the chat here on twitch.tv/apathetic enthusiasm, where we're streaming live 9 p.m. Eastern every Monday night, whether I'm on vacation or not. I just happen to be on vacation this time. Yeah, gin, the only podcast for gin enthusiasts. I'm sure there's a better podcast for gin enthusiasts.
Giancarlo Esposito.
I'm so confident.
He's the guy on Breaking Bad. He's not the guy in Breaking Bad. He is the actor.
He's not the one that knocks.
Right. He is the actor in Breaking Bad. And yes, that is right. I'm still editing my video because I'm very blurry because I'm so far forward and it's zoomed in. It's zoomed in and it makes me blurry.
Zoom.
Hey, D Squeeze is
while
here.
While Brandon edits our OBS live on stream, I will go over how you can get a hold of us if you want to chat. You can, of course, hit us up on Twitter at Apathusiast. I am at Jogomino. He is at Barnyard Cruise. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Apathetic Enthusiasm Show. Send us an email, apatheticenthusiasmshow@gmail.com. Apathetic_enthusiasm is the Instagram, and our website is apatheticenthusiasm.com, where you can find this podcast as well as the other ones that we used to make. Blogs from 3 years ago, they're all there. You can also follow the show live, as we said earlier, Monday nights on twitch.tv/apathetic enthusiasm, or catch a video over at youtube.com/apathetic enthusiasm. Some of these vacation break episodes you may not be able to catch it on YouTube because maybe my computer's in a box somewhere. Maybe it's not. So this may be a Twitch exclusive if I don't get if I don't rip it off Twitch or something.
Funny you mentioned ripping it off of Twitch. I think I posted my solo podcast experience last week from Interdimensional RSS. I think I put that onto YouTube. I think I downloaded it and I uploaded it to YouTube and I
What a guy.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if Brandon puts in the work to do that with this episode as well. We'll see.
I'm still teleworking. It means I'm getting ready to transfer out, and so I'm training my replacement. But my replacement is on site this week, learning the tips and tricks of the trade, and therefore I'm teleworking with not really a whole lot to do other than respond to emails and say, hey, make sure you keep this person in the loop. Go ahead and ask them first, and I'll assist if necessary. So I will probably upload this to YouTube in the morning.
Sounds great. Sounds like we will have the video on YouTube. You can also support the show financially over at patreon.com/apathetic enthusiasm, where you can tip us, get some behind the scenes exclusives, whatever we got available over there. You can check out the Patreon. Yeah, that's it. That's the links. That's what you can do. Brandon, how are you doing? I know I've been like out of touch a little bit lately. I've been busy. Lots of driving.
You have been busy. Lots of driving. I do want to say just real quick, if you catch, for folks out there on the stream, if you catch just little bits of like, and then Travis keeps talking, it's because I'm the one who's doing the technical piece with the stream for these batches of episodes, and on my MacBook there are some hiccups here, there, and everywhere, and so periodically I or Travis will cut out, and mostly Travis. But good news for those audio listeners on the podcast app, since Travis is recording his audio locally, you're not going to have that same effect. No, sorry, Bob.
No.
Chef's kiss.
You
that
pure
shit.
audiophiles who always download the audio only version of Apathetic Enthusiasm will get the pure, unadulterated content. None of this clippy, half effort Twitch stream stuff that the others come in
Right.
to experience live, to be part of the show, to be part of the experience.
It's like a mountain stream, but except it's a stream of pure audio energy that you can
that's what it is.
that you digest through your intestines of your earbuds.
You swallow it down, and then the moonbeams, they come out through your fingers and through your toes, and they and I did a Jimmy Stewart line, but not a Jimmy Stewart impression. It was really confusing. Yeah. See.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. How's life? How are things? Are you excited about March Madness? Are you aware that March Madness is happening?
I am aware that March Madness is happening. I was supposed to play video games with Matt on Saturday, and I did play video games with Matt on Saturday. But let me before I get into that piece, we played on Friday. We started a new game of Civilization on Friday, and we didn't last that long. And we're like, so Saturday morning rolled around, and he's starting to crib train. He's like, I'm gonna be up late tonight. So I have plenty of time to play. Great, fantastic. Well, a couple hours later, I'm excited, right? Like start at 9, last into the wee hours of the morning. We're gonna play Civ, and he hits me up mid hour. He says, the roommate wants to watch March Madness. Whoever was playing, Gonzaga maybe. And it starts at 7:30, and it's gonna last till 9:30 or 10 my time. And he lives in Idaho. Like, God, I don't know if I'll be up that late. I don't know if I will be up that late. And so
you went from I'm gonna stay up all night playing Civ to I don't know if I'll be up at 9.
Well, if it doesn't, it's not 9.
That's how that turned.
It's not 9 my time. It was 11:30 my time, right? 9:30 his time would be 11:30 my time. So I'm like, I don't know if I can wait that long to stay awake to play games at that. Like if I start at 9, that's one thing. If I start at 11:30, that's another.
Yeah, and who knows what could happen in those couple of hours?
Who knows? But what here? Fate shined upon us, because what happened was Chelsea right around like 11:15, 11:30, when the game was about to be over. Chelsea's like, can I go to sleep? Can we watch a movie and I'll sleep next to you on the couch? And I said, yeah, no, that's sure. And so that's wonderful. Yeah, let's do that. And I texted Matt right as he was give him 10 minutes so we can play a game. And I was like, now Chelsea and I are going to watch a movie. He's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll play sports because I'm crib training and I'll be up till whenever. Like, okay. We put on Ghoulies 2. And I don't expect you to have seen Ghoulies, what Ghoulies is about. But it doesn't matter because we did not get through the title sequence of that movie and Chelsea was already asleep on my lap. And I'm like, hey, Matt, it's go time. And
it's Civ time.
It's Civ time. And I was up till 5 a.m. with Matt, helping him crib train his wee one to and that was fun.
While playing Civ. Did you win?
The game's not over yet.
The classic Civ answer. Classic. The game is not over yet.
It's not over yet. You've been traveling cross country, Travis. Don't let me. I took up a lot of your time. You've been traveling cross country. You made your way to San Diego. How has the journey been in this post-apocalyptic COVID landscape?
So it's been good. We did some quarantine action in the days and weeks leading up to our journey, because we are visiting family, and we didn't want to bring anything, we didn't want to bring COVID into the house.
Sure.
So and then I got my shot number 2 So I'm like a superhero, and COVID can't keep me down now. But all the same, we drove out here, long drive, lots of time on the road. But San Diego is beautiful. There are a lot of people here. I don't remember there being this. It's weird to go back to your hometown, right? Like it's. I haven't been back here in 5 years, and it's strange, like driving around the neighborhood that you grew up in and being like, wow, I really feel like this house was a lot bigger, 30 years ago. And just, I don't know, like there are a lot of people in San Diego. It is a beautiful place to live, but it is heavily populated. So I'm just eating a lot of the fast food that I can't get in other places. Had a delicious carne asada burrito yesterday.
That sounds so good.
I keep sending Brandon pictures of of like In-N-Out and Wiener Schnitzel.
You do,
and then he gets mad at me. So I will stop doing that.
You haven't sent me any Jack in the Crack pictures. Yeah, you haven't eaten.
That is what we ate. That is what we ate the very first day we got here.
You fuck.
But that is also going to be like where I live when I finish moving. So I feel like
you're going to live in Jack in the Box.
I'm going to live in Jack in the Box. But no, life is good. I love a little bit of rest, a little bit of downtime. I'm bummed that I missed Interdimensional RSS last week. I thought you did a great job. I actually listened to the episode while driving across the deserts of the Southwest, and I thought it was great. I'm looking forward to the next episode because I don't know, I maybe could join you on Monday, but it's TBD. It's TBD because that is a travel day. Next week. So
I want to say for this episode, right? I really had fully planned on not having you here with me tonight and me doing a solo stream again. I'd prepared for it. Basically going over the same topics we're going to talk about tonight. And then I'd also thought about, it's been so long since I've done a submitted for your approval. And I thought I've been going through like a little crisis with it, right? Because my crisis is I have not made any more episodes of it. There's an episode right after this next episode that I recorded back in November, December, with a gentleman, great guy, but I haven't posted it yet because I was waiting for this episode first, and it's been so fucking long since recorded. So like I'm like, I need to get this out for him, but I don't have a guest yet, and so I'm almost to the point where I'm probably just gonna. Basically after Interdimensional RSS last week, I'm like, you know what? I can just do some solo Twilight Zone podcast. I don't need people. I should just do it.
Sure. It's been the format of the show since its inception, but things can change. Things can adjust. That's fine.
We can adjust. Mostly, I was going to bring Chelsea into it, but I keep feeling bad for to her.
She keeps falling asleep during the opening credits of Gloobies 2 or whatever.
Gloobies 2.
Gloobies 2.
Anyway, so I was at
Gloobies, 2 Loobies.
2 Gloobies. 2 Gloobies to Gloob. Hey, Gloob. So I wasn't expecting you to be in here. So I'm glad that you're here, so that we can talk about these two topics that I was going to talk about on my own, but it's better when you're talking with a friend. First topic. Let's go ahead and get this one out of the way because I think this one will be a shorter version, a shorter of the two topics, because it was shorter, and also because I think there's less to talk about with it. It is the premiere of the Disney Plus show Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It is the second Marvel show to hit Disney Plus after WandaVision. Disney Plus.
What did I say to you? TFATWS?
Yes. Yeah.
Taft was.
And the first thing I said was, "What the hell is that?" And you're like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm like,
I saw it referred to like that on a Marvel subreddit, and I was like, oh, that's a little bit easier, at least to type. But it's a long title. It's a long title for a show.
Yeah.
No doubt.
If we just say FWS, I think that would do it.
FWS.
Yeah, FWS.
Yeah.
But
anyway, as you are saying,
for what it's worth,
this is the new Marvel show on Disney Plus. We had a 1 week break after the finale of WandaVision, and now Falcon and the Winter Soldier is here. I think eight or 9 episodes maybe that we have slated for this, and this picks up where Avengers Endgame sort of left off with Sam the Falcon taking on the Shield from Captain America. If I'm giving Endgame spoilers, but if you haven't seen Endgame yet, I'm sorry, it's been too long. Like the statute of limitations is over on that movie. Yeah, and so I don't know. I watched the episode. Did you watch the episode, Brandon?
I did watch the episode. As a matter of fact, I watched the episode pretty shortly after I watched the end of that other thing we're going to talk about.
That other thing we're going to talk about. And yes, this is the first episode of a week-to-week show, so I don't think we have to dig into it too much, but I don't know, what were your first impressions of the show? It's kind of hard not to compare and contrast with WandaVision because that is so fresh in our memories as well. I thought it was good, but I think it's very different tonally from the start than obviously WandaVision was, being a 1950s sitcom in its first episode.
Yeah, I mean that's you nailed it, because having those two things so close together, it seems kind of jarring to go back into the standard formula for what you expect from Marvel, right? Whereas WandaVision felt like something new and unique, and even towards the end, I would say it didn't. Maybe like the last episode and a half, it didn't feel like a comic book movie or the extension of a comic book movie. The FWS starts off feeling basically like a comic book movie at the start of it. Like, yeah, it seems like this is the first 30-40 minutes of a movie, and it's just going to go from there. Which isn't to say it's a bad thing, because just based off this first episode, I am interested in where it's going. I like that. A little bit of spoilers. That's not many spoilers. That they Winter Soldier and Falcon don't actually meet up in this first episode. Just establishing their characters. Bucky on a kind of an AA apologizing remorse a kind of journey of his, and then of course the Falcon, who was supposed to take up the mantle of Captain America, and he doesn't feel like he fits in or deserves that role. That's not spoiling really anything. That's basically in the synopsis for the episode. But I like them setting that up to goes from here.
Yeah, I think if you watch the end of Endgame, they sort of lay it out like Sam is the de facto next Captain America. He's given the shield. It's like, this is what's going to happen. I think it's interesting that they're much in the way that WandaVision established like an origin story for Scarlet Witch, like you talked about. I could definitely see this series establishing who the new Captain America is in the MCU, and playing with the idea that we don't know exactly who it is. Will it be Bucky? Will it be the Falcon or the Winter Soldier? Will it be this cheesy looking dude that they premiered, on the Capitol steps or whatever?
Hail Hydra.
That to me, that story hook is interesting for the series. I also find it interesting that they might be using these Marvel series as a new driver for establishing stronger backstories with characters that they used to use 2 movies to get to, where you'd have like Captain America, the first Avenger, and then Captain America, the Winter Soldier, before you get into like really knowing a lot about Captain America. Now we can run 8 episodes about a somewhat smaller Avengers character and really establish who these people are, build some more backstory into them before we turn them out as a feature player in an MCU movie. So I think the formula could work really well. And really these series end up being like 8-hour movies anyway. So like the production value is really good.
Yeah,
So, but it has more time. It has more time to pace themselves.
yeah. Room to breathe, they say in the industry. This series is only 6 weeks long, 6 episodes long, I think.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
which what I think is a good thing. One of the biggest complaints I had for what I thought were generally really good Netflix series, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, some of them, I didn't watch the other ones. I didn't want you to watch The Punisher, and I was excited about The Punisher. What was they start strong, and then they go too long. Whereas like there's room to breathe with a multi-episode series when you start padding that content with and the story starts being diluted with frivolous details. That's about the time that I kind of start pulling out.
Yeah.
So
and
by the way,
I
saying
think with
pulling out is funny to me. It's a funny phrase to me.
I'm
I don't
gonna
want to
breeze right past.
I don't want to talk
breeze
about it too
right
long.
past it.
But
We're not gonna dwell.
every time I say it, I'm like, but that's like I want to say out loud. That's not what I mean. Like even if I'm in a conversation at work and I'm like, hey, look, we're in this contract. We're gonna need to pull out. And I'm like, and I want to say that's not what I mean. But everybody knows. Everybody knows that's not what I mean.
You're like, listen, things are getting a little intense. We're gonna have to pull out early, but I think everybody's gonna feel better once it's all done.
Hey, Brandon,
Anyway,
you can't say that. You can't say that, Brandon.
What? I'm just talking about contracts. That's all I'm doing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Condoms,
Anyway,
Brandon. We're selling condoms.
WandaVision. What?
Condom vision.
Yeah. Dominic Cobb talking about the Cat movies being so good. Yes, I think they are terrific. I think a lot of the core MCU projects are like they've all been great. Where Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and all of those sort of lose a little bit of longevity is the fact that they were MCU adjacent without being tied into core MCU storylines. And that is something that they're not dealing with these Disney Plus projects. So they tie directly in, they have the same actors. They're not like just referencing things that happened in the MCU. We are seeing stuff that happened in movies with the characters that portrayed the same characters in movies. Like, so it does feel like part of the MCU and not an adjacent storyline or things like that. And so I like that this can all tie right back in. It can support the story. None of it seems like you have to watch it to still appreciate the movies, but I think it definitely is a great supplement for the movies. And I'm excited to see where they continue to go with it. And I don't know. I'm continuing to pay for my Disney Plus because it's been well worth it with the content that they have been shoveling out.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing what the rest of the series holds for us, and it basically leads directly into Black Widow, right? I'm fairly sure. Like not
possibly. I don't know where Black Widow exists in the whole thing.
Like,
I mean, it was
not
supposed to come out last year,
wise, but not in like universe timeline
to the actual theatrical release of Black Widow.
Yeah,
I think it's going to lead us right up to that. If there's a spreadsheet somewhere that shows, I think there's not a single week where new Marvel based content comes, like every week in 2021 new Marvel content will come out either on Disney Plus or in theaters. So we are not going to be hurting for that anytime soon. The real struggle for us will be not talking about it every other week on Apathetic Enthusiasm, but I think we can do it. I think we can do it.
I think
we'll stick to series premieres and series finales, and we'll just move on from there. So
I think we can. I think
excited to see where this series goes.
Yeah. At some point in time, around the end of April, hopefully you'll be quasi settled in your new place, and you will be able to take the on doing solo podcasting for a couple weeks, so I can get settled. And really, that'll be around the time that the finale of Winter Soldier, Falcon, blah 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 happens. That's on you. That's on you, bro. You can.
I got
talk.
this.
I got this. I'll send you.
I got the Disney gear on. I'm ready for it.
From the road, I'll send you.
Prepared.
Hey, Travis.
I thought it was good.
Hey, Siri. Oh no. Okay.
Don't do it. You'd never utter those words during a podcast, Brandon. All right. Okay. Well,
next, let's move on. Let's move on, Travis.
Speaking of long-winded superhero content, we have one other topic that's really pressing our brains, and that is they recently premiered theatrical event that took place in our living rooms on HBO Max. That is the people have spoken, and the hashtag the Snyder Cut is out and available. Brandon, how long have you been clamoring for this cut of the Justice League?
I think it's important. Just like it's I almost want to complain more reactions to the movie than I do the actual movie itself. But I'll say okay. I've been clamoring for it since the start of the hashtag release the Snyder Cut. That's when Justice League came out in 2017. We watched it, and it was okay. It wasn't great. And you can go back to Apathetic Enthusiasm insert episode here to see what
episode number
to see what our thoughts were way back then on the film, on the Whedon version, the theatrical cut of the movie. There was reasons Snyder left. One was his daughter Amber, who killed herself and took time away from the movie to be with his family, right? And there's a long history of how all those events transpired, him leaving, etc. We're not going to go into that. Basically, every review that you read for the Snyder Cut will go into 3 to 4 paragraphs of that back history. That's one of my complaints, because there was a Vanity Fair article that came out that was very, very good, and it talked all about that.
Yeah, we talked about it at length on this show.
Yeah. We don't need to do that for more reviews. So that's my first complaint. So the movie came out. Neither of us were excited to watch it. But after that Vanity Fair article, I thought, you know what? It seems like he people liked him. All the cast liked him. The crew liked him. And this is something that I should at least give a chance to, even though it's 4 hours and it feels self-indulgent. I'll give it a shot. What about you? What were your thoughts before watching the film?
I will say I am not an outright Zack Snyder hater. I have actually liked many of his movies in the past. I liked his take on Watchmen. 300. I thought, when 300 came out, like I was like, yeah, this is awesome. This is cool. And for the most part, his take on on DC Comics, which has been controversial at times, I didn't think was outright bad. I think I have a bigger problem in general with the DC cinematic universe and what they're trying to do with it. But there are shining examples of stuff that I do like. Unfortunately, not much of that came from Zack Snyder early on, right? So, um, I did not like Justice League. As a film, I just didn't like it. And that caused some hesitance for me in watching the Snyder Cut, is being like, even if he improves upon what was done before, is this going to be a movie I even like? Is even the core storyline going to be interesting to me? And I don't know if just enough time has passed for me to have sufficiently blocked out any memory of the original Justice League film, but watching the Snyder Cut, I was like, I came into it with an open mind. I came in with a very low bar of expectation, and by 2 hours in, halfway, I was like, yeah, I think I like this. I think this isn't just a movie that I'm tolerating or I'm letting myself watch because of, I know the backstory of why Snyder had to step away, and the fact that fans wanted him to come back and live this out. I think just as a movie, I think I kind of like it. I have issues with it, but I am enjoying watching it piece by piece. And we'll get the piece by
piece by piece. Yes, exactly. So as is, the Snyder Cut is a 4-hour long movie, and you're right. Like, I as early as a month and a half ago, when Wonder Woman that it was, how I don't know how long ago Wonder Woman 84 came out. It felt, if I don't know timelines anymore.
It's only been
like
it was in 2021, so it's only been like I think it was January it came out.
Okay. Chelsea hadn't.
No, I watched it on Christmas.
Oh,
so it was December.
Okay, Chelsea hadn't
seen.
She hadn't seen Wonder Woman, and she hadn't seen Batman vs Superman or Justice League. She hadn't seen any of those films, right? And on the time leading up to Wonder Woman 84, she wanted to know what was going on, and so we watched Wonder Woman. We watched Wonder Woman 84. We watched Justice League, and so as December, January, that's the last time I watched it. And I was thinking, yeah, this isn't a terrible movie. It's about as good as Green Arrow or a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Which even Ryan Reynolds, who just watched it recently, is like, this movie's not that bad. So going into this, starting to watch this movie, the first thought I had within really like the first 20 minutes, and I think I texted you within the first 20 minutes, I was like, it's a coherent vision, and I like the tone of it already. There are extended shots with like Bruce Wayne in Greenland or whatever area of the world that is, right? We're like, okay, go a little bit. We need to move it along a little bit further. But even so, if you tonally it is consistent throughout the entire film, and arguably I think that makes it, whether you like it or not, I think that makes it a better film, because it's not like jumping here to there. It's not doesn't have like weird awkward comedy bits smashed up against awkward drama bits. It is consistent, and I think that's what sets it apart from the theatrical cut.
Yeah, there's a few things, and again, if you haven't watched the Snyder Cut, I understand it takes some time. We're going to talk about details in this movie, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I'm sorry. Download this later. Come on back after you've watched it. But the movie is in 4:3. The aspect ratio is the first thing that I was like, wow, that's a bold choice. That's that's different. Watching it on a cell phone for the majority, like a lot of the screen real estate was not utilized.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's fine. You make choices, you live with them.
You make do.
I don't think it detracted from the film too much.
That was a complaint that I don't understand that. I don't understand that complaint, but then again, I watch movies with subtitles on all the time. And
Sure.
I mean, that is how we watched movies. We watched movies like that for a long time in like weird square shapes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just used to ignoring.
But TVs aren't shaped that way anymore.
Oh no!
They're not.
They're not.
And like the reason they were presented in 4x3 is because that's the shape of people's TVs at home. Like they cut off the sides of the movies and did pan and scan.
Yeah. But
Like home. So
But this is for IMAX. It's meant for an IMAX screen, Travis.
all right.
Get over it. Get over it with
I'm over
your
it.
your
I'm
weird.
over it.
I understand.
I just need an IMAX. I just need an IMAX cell phone, is what you're telling me. Maybe if I'd watched it on an iPad, that would have been the better way to do it.
Well, so I'll say this, right? When The Simpsons came out on Disney Plus, and it was, and they forced it into that the HD whatever that the dimensions of that screen are.
Letterbox.
Yeah. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. Cut off so many of the jokes. But once they released it back in 4.3, all those visual gags they reared their heads back. Anyways, that's basically how that
back.
is.
Okay, let's talk about the length. Let's talk about the runtime. This
Yeah.
movie is over 4 hours long. How many days did it take you to watch it?
It only took me 2 days. I forced Chelsea to start it again on the second day. Just to like we got to finish it. We got to finish it up. The parts are, it's broken into 6 parts, right? And
Something like that, yeah.
The first of the 4 parts were done by like the first hour and change. and then like the last parts were like the last hour, 2 hours, and then 30-40 minutes was for the epilogue. I don't mind a long thing. I don't like mind a long movie at all. As long as I'm mentally prepared for it. I will give it credit. I don't think it felt as long as 4 hours, with the exception of the epilogue. We can talk about that later. I don't think the movie felt like 4 hours necessarily. What about you?
I felt like the breaking into the parts was really useful for me because I was watching it by myself, ignoring my family like I'm doing now to do this podcast. Where like they would be watching something else on TV or the kids were doing something. I'm like, oh, I'll just pop in my AirPods and grab my phone and I'll watch some of the Snyder Cut. And so I would watch like part 1, and then it would get to part 2, and I'd pause it or I'd close it out and be like, oh, we're making dinner now. Cool. Let's have some more family time. Oh, part 2. Let's see what part 2 is. And so I used those parts to my advantage to sort of break up the movie a little bit more. And it created those logical stopping points for me where I could continue to have a life and engage in social interactions and then come back to the movie as I needed to. So I watched it in 2 days as well. And it didn't feel like 4 hours, but I broke it up considerably.
Yeah.
And I was able to maintain an interest in it without losing too much of like that continuity or feel like I was breaking the action too much by having to take those breaks.
Yeah, and I'll say this about the extended time for the film. It was necessary in some ways in order to flesh out characters who we didn't get a backstory from, a good backstory from in the original theatrical cut. characters, obviously, the Flash, they expanded him a little bit. I like what they did with him. Yeah, he was still the comedy relief of the film, but he wasn't necessarily as he didn't come off as obnoxious in either version, but he was less. I don't know. He was more understandable, I guess, in this one. And his powers are the most what I most appreciated about the changes in this. In the theatrical cut, his powers extended to like getting beat by Superman as far as like trying to save people in the back of a pickup truck, right? And then losing in the post-credit scene. Well, he didn't lose, but we assume he lost in the post-credit scene. They expanded on his powers, they expanded a little bit more, and they made him more an integral part of the climax of the film, the resolution of the film, which I love, and that's what is for. They didn't use him right in the theatrical cut. Then the other backstory was, of course, you'll hear about it in all the reviews, Cyborg, who they didn't use him right in the theatrical, and they basically centered a lot of this film around his character, and which I liked. What you? How about you? What do you think about that?
I agree with that completely. I feel like it really brought those characters to the forefront a lot more in this version. Gave them a lot more of an opportunity for viewers to understand who they are, what their motivations are, and made them feel less like backup characters to Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and even Aquaman. But really made them feel more like part of the team, even though they're new to the universe within this film. It gave enough time for us to figure out more about who they were, less so with the Flash. We got a little bit more backstory with him, but definitely with Cyborg, like it made me interested in like a Cyborg standalone movie where I was like, I could be down with this. Like the way they used him and some of the stuff they did, I was like, I could watch just a standalone movie with this character. Like I think that could be interesting. So yeah, I appreciate the time that was taken with them, and then how all of them were sort of necessary. The way that they built those encounters, and I'm using D&D terminology now to sort of explain it, but right,
Yeah.
like the way those big boss fights came together, utilizing the strengths of everyone on the team in order to win the fight, as opposed to just being like, all right, these guys were here while these three won the day. I thought that was done well. As also one thing that just popped in my brain, and I want to say it before I move on, but Zack Snyder's handling of Wonder Woman in action scenes was awesome. And there was a distinct difference to me in how Wonder Woman fought in Wonder Woman 84 versus how she moved in the Snyder cut. There's a scene where she breaks up like a terrorist that are going to blow up like a city or whatever, right? And the way she moves, the speed at which she like moves from bad guy to bad guy and all this stuff, like really elevated the appearance of her powers, I think. Which was, for me, I was like, this is awesome. Seeing the way she's fighting here was part of what I like. I mean, there was some of that in 84, but I felt like some of it was missing. I was like, I feel like that choreography or that presentation could have been done a little bit better.
Well,
but I thought it looked great in this movie.
84 is at least 30 years before 2017. Just throwing that out. She had a lot.
Solid point. Solid point, Brandon. Can't argue with it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that little bit of sentiment there. Yeah, I like the general handling of the characters. I wanted to mention the like Aquaman. You mentioned Aquaman very, very, very briefly. And I forgot that Aquaman, the standalone movie, came after Justice League. And so with that kind of context, they showed less of Aquaman in this film, and like if somebody's watching it for the first time and they only saw they're watching in an order and they're like, okay, Snyder cut and then Aquaman, because that's the order chronologically that they came out, people would know nothing about Aquaman, and he just appeared in this movie and he has a personality, kind of, right?
Kind of.
There's no
It's mostly drinking.
It's mostly drinking. Mira is there. We don't know anything about her. Willem Dafoe's character, we know nothing about him yet, right? That's a thing. And so they expanded they expanded Flash, they expanded Cyborg, but then they took away from some of the personality of Aquaman. They gave him a little bit of a better characterization drama wise, but without Aquaman the film heading into it, you kind of don't necessarily understand those aspects of it.
Yeah, and I genuinely found myself questioning where this film fell in the timeline, because it has been years and years since I watched any like Man of Steel or even Batman vs Superman, and then like I'm like, well, okay, Wonder Woman obviously took place like before this. Wonder Woman 84 took place before this. When did Aquaman happen? I think it was after. Like when he's talking about his dad, what does he mean? Like, okay, like
real world.
Is his mom alive? Is his mom?
It's like real world versus DC movie
confusing.
world. Yeah. Well, that's a thing. So for the you and I, we've been tracking the Snyder Cut just as fans of film, fans of comics, reading about it on Twitter, what have you, right? Like we knew that this was a thing that was coming up, and it was essentially the ultimate director's cut of Justice League. The same movie, but much different because Snyder put all his original filming into it, right? Now, for the folks who don't follow it religiously, don't follow it at that level, I imagine that it could be fairly confusing. And I say this because I watched it with Chelsea, my wife, who does not follow that stuff. And so I'm like, okay, we got to watch the Snyder Cut, Justice League, the Snyder Cut. And she said, okay, like what's this movie about? Well, it's basically the same movie, but much different. She's like, okay, I don't understand, but let's go and watch it anyway. And 2 hours compared to 4 hours, there's several parts in the movie for a I don't want to say fair weather fan, but a someone who's not tracking it. We're like
a casual, if you will.
Wait. So when did this happen? This happened in was this before Wonder Woman? Wait. Okay. So Flash met Batman. Wait. Huh. And like, well, there's a backstory. Okay, Snyder filmed it, then Whedon took it over. Like, okay. Wait, I've seen this part before, right? Like that confusion.
Yes.
Do
yes.
you think?
I feel like I've seen this before. Well, you have, so to speak. Yeah.
So that I think that I only one very anecdotal piece of example for that with Chelsea. Do you think that is a? Let's take that back a step. The DC universe, DC cinematic universe, is not really a thing necessarily. Although they have the Flash movie coming out that will introduce Flashpoint and stuff like that. But what we know from the Snyderverse is all that stuff will go away. So do you think that all this does is serve to confuse the general cinema going public?
these are my off the cuff thoughts,
I
right?
said a lot of
Because
words. I'm sorry.
we have a cinematic universe that we use as a basis of comparison with the MCU and Kevin Feige and the folks at Disney who are very careful and cautious and sometimes safe with how they have produced all these films and TV shows to tie together to tell one long story. And they're very involved in the process and in every detail. And oh no, you can't say that in this movie because it's gonna mess up a scene that's gonna happen 3 movies from now in 2025. Like there's so much going into it that all kind of threads together. It feels like there's almost limits for creativity because you have to operate within this giant machine that is the MCU. And that makes for some great like connections and things like that, but DC has struggled with that over at Warner Brothers, and they've made some really good movies, but I've always had an issue generally with the DCU and what they tried to build and how they've tried to stitch the films together, because you bring in different directors, you bring in different ideas, and then, well, yeah, this sort of works with that, but and also just the scale of some of the baddies and the speed at which they tried to bring in Darkseid and all of these people, like it wasn't a steady progression like it was building up to the first Avengers movie, and then 20 movies later into the big Thanos Endgame sort of like they had way more time to get there. And I think DC's always been trying to play a little bit of catch up. So I'm not committed to the DC movies the way I am Marvel. I'm not. I enjoy some DC comics. I really like some of these characters, but I feel like they need that central like line of effort where a couple of producers, a couple of key executives are like, here's the storyline we're going to tell over the next decade. This is what we're going to build towards. And these are the steps that we're going to take to get there. And then if you want to bring in different directors, if you want to bring in different ideas, great. But you have to, because I think fans like me are expecting an epilogue in the Snyder Cut or flash forwards that exist in another movie to somehow tie to something that's actually going to happen in the future of these films. And I don't have that level of assurity that like that's what's going to happen, because I think they could change course, at the drop of a hat. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed this film for what it was, but does this fix the DCU? Does it set a new trajectory for the DCU? I don't know if it does. I don't know if it will be received at a level where people are gonna be like, yes, okay, this is the direction we need to head now. Here's the steps that we're going to take to get there. Introduction of some really awesome characters that I love to see movies of. Yes, absolutely. Potential for another Justice League film at some point that builds on the foundation that they have in this film. I'm for it. I hope that's the case. But do the executives at the company make that decision? Do they choose to go that way? I don't know. I'm not confident at this point that they will.
I'm not confident. Yeah, you make some interesting points with almost the dilution of these films, right? Again,
right.
Like Chelsea, I keep saying her name because I love her so much, and she's such an integral part of my life. And I hope she's listening, so she knows how much
I'd
I
say
love her.
Sheena's name, but she doesn't watch these movies with me. So
I force Chelsea to. I mean, she wants to. Okay, whatever. Anyways, she every time we watch a film, she's like, okay, is this DC or Marvel? And I say, okay, Superman's DC, Iron Man is Marvel. And then we watch another movie, like watch Shazam. She's like, okay, so he meets Iron Man. Like, no, he's a DC character. Oh, okay, right. So there's already for very casual fans of these films a loose tie to it. Now we take DC films, ignoring Marvel entirely, ignoring how visionary, I say visionary, but they have a plan. They have a strategic plan for telling a long-term storyline for these characters, for these worlds, introducing new things, X-Men, Fantastic Four, what have you. We have faith, based off of the last 60 billion Marvel movies, that they have a plan for all these new properties, bringing them back into the fold long term. DC, we don't have that. As a matter of fact, what we have is we introduced the Snyderverse. We reintroduced the Snyder cut of Justice League into this world of cinema, this world of DC cinema, and now casual fans are like, wait, is this the one we paid? Is this the canon piece? Or is the theatrical one the canon piece? Okay, now we have a Flash movie that is based off of partially the theatrical and the Snyder cut. Which one do we pay attention to more than that? They're talking. DC's talking about like bringing in the multiverse of cinema. That is a concept that we understand as comic fans. That is a very difficult concept when you're talking about multiple characters of movies. And with the Flash, we're talking about bringing Michael Keaton back in to be an older Batman. Talking about bringing other characters in, what have you. That could be confusing. It could work out depending on the quality of director. But then you're bringing in Robert Pattinson as Batman for a new Batman movie that is not related to these Justice League movies. You're rebooting Batman, but you're also saying that maybe we'll have another Batman movie that is tied to the canon of the Justice League. DC just doesn't do the big vision very, very well. And so I will say that all Snyder did was he brought his vision back. It's great. But now people are going to look at that as the definitive version, and are now going to be like, wait, why aren't we continuing with this Nightfall, or not Nightfall, the epilogue story? Like, why aren't we seeing an extension of the epilogue story anymore? What happened to that? Why isn't that a thing? People are going to start wondering why.
Yeah. And good luck to Warner Brothers with all of it, because I think they're almost better off making really solid one-off, two-off sort of films. I thought Aquaman was pretty good. Wonder Woman I thought was fantastic. Wonder Woman 84 still pretty good. Make some really good one-off character movies. Make a really great Flash movie. Make a well-produced, story-driven Cyborg movie. Bring these characters forward and make us really interested in them. And then if you have a good idea about how to bring them all back together, do it, but don't force it. Don't just use the properties.
Yes. Make
some good movies, and then let MCU have all of the money, because they're busy doing that. Anyway, I don't know. Overall, 1 to 10, how would you rate the Snyder cut now that you've seen the whole thing?
I would still give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was good, and I thought there was some good stuff in there. Ultimately, you'll notice I didn't complain too much about the movie itself and the things I had an issue with. I think you can find a lot of those complaints in any article, comments talking about this movie. Here's my biggest complaint about the movie. All right, it's not about the slow motion. I knew going into this movie that Zack Snyder used slow motion for everything. I was okay with that. I'm like, he's going to use a lot of slow motion. It's fine. They're like 5 people. Let's view them in slow motion. Just
some of them are super fast to begin with. You got to use some slow mo. It just makes sense.
It just makes sense. That's not my problem. My problem is the laziness of Twitter and Redditors and commenters using the exact same joke as if it's their own. It is. I cannot explain to you, Travis, how frustrating it is to like somebody retweets an article about Justice League and the length, and if you scan any of those comments, you will find no less than 2 to 20 jokes with somebody saying it would have been a 2-hour movie without all that slow motion. I shit you not. It is in every comment thread. I dare you to look. I dare you to look. I dare you
The
to
creativity of the internet, ladies and gentlemen. I know you were going to ask me, but I'll just say it anyway. I would push almost an 8, 8.5 on the Snyder Cut.
Too high.
This is the
just joking.
I like this a lot more than the original Justice League, and I enjoyed it just as a superhero movie. I felt like the story was cohesive enough right up till about the part where we hit the epilogue, and then I'm like, all right, what's happening now? What are we doing here? But overall, I felt like the story made sense. It was a clear MacGuffin that was driving everything. They had to find the 3 boxes, and they had to prevent them from finding the 3 boxes, and all the different people had the different boxes, and and this guy's it made sense. It made sense to me. It was a good reason to get all these people together, and I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the film.
They felt like a team.
Yeah.
They used synergy with each other. That was one thing I wanted to bring up earlier. You kind of alluded to, like, what it was vignettes of these superpowered individuals doing their own thing. It was them actually coming together in working as a team to defeat Steppenwolf and Darkseid ultimately.
And there was even growth in that aspect, where the first fight that they got together before Aquaman like officially joined them, like they were disparate. They were fighting individual fights collectively, and then and so that shows they're sort of like they're still going through some struggles to form this team. And then by the end, all right, now we're working together. You're using your powers along with mine so that we can be stronger together, as opposed to all of these individual heroes all fighting at the same time. They were fighting together to win the day. And so I did think that was great. I thought that was a good way to bring these characters together, and sort of the resolution of it all. It felt good. I felt good about the way the movie ended. So congrats to Zack Snyder. If you hated Justice League, I do recommend you give this a shot. Take some time, maybe take a few days off of work so you can watch it. Maybe space it out over a few days.
Yeah.
But I did think it was good. So well done, and I'm thankful that they were willing to release this version of the film.
Yeah. Well, now you know what's next is release the Snyderverse. That's what's next.
Get your hashtags out. Get your hashtags out. Release the Snyderverse. Speaking of the Snyderverse, this entire podcast exists only in the Snyderverse. This is the Snyder Cut of Apathetic Enthusiasm. So we have 3 more hours left to go. Just kidding. We do have an additional hour of stream, but unfortunately, if you're listening to the audio version, this is where we leave you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast. But if you want to hear the exclusive stream only after show, you're gonna have to check out twitch.tv/apathetic enthusiasm on Monday nights. We are going to go head over and do the stream only portion of the show. But to everyone else, thank you for listening. And until next time, I'm Travis.
And I am Brandon. And thank you so much for listening, everybody. Hearts and kisses.
Bye.
Bye. Now we gotta wait till the music ends.
If you're watching on stream, don't go anywhere. I saw 2 people already back out.
Oh,
Guys,
no.
this part of the show is for you.
They backed out before we started playing the music. So
you could probably make this podcast 20 minutes now in slow motion. Panning that joke. Hey,
what episode
John.
is this?
186 maybe.
I saved it as 22 mark.
John, what is this I hear about you DMing for another group and cheating on us?
Oh, I was just about to type. Why aren't you DMing for other?
What's going on there, man?
Right now?
How? What's happening?
Funny you mentioned DM, like this. It's all kind of coinciding right now. Oh, John.
Because my other group moved away. I'm right here. This is the only way you've ever known me.
I was talking to my brother Brett earlier today. I started to. First of all, I got into a phone call with my friend Greg, who's I was talking to about like hotel rooms, and then all of a sudden,
is he old Greg?
Oh, Greg, do you love me? And all of a sudden, Brett called me, and I'm not used to having Brett call me, and so I'm like, oh no, I hope everything is okay. And so I told Greg, like, I'm gonna get off the phone. My brother's calling me, and he never calls me, and then he and I ended up talking for a long time, and he was just calling just to talk. I'm like, oh, this is nice. This is a nice call. Anyways, what he was saying was like he quit his old job, which was like overworking him. He got a new job now that he'll have extra time, and because I'm moving out to California, he was like, oh yeah, now we can like do D&D. Like maybe we can just we can meet up at your house or my house, wherever, and we can play D&D. In the same area. I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And we talked about you moving and us coming back eventually to start up a new campaign. And so I said, who's wanting to DM, and he's getting his kicks on, his DM practice and kicks on, is John. He'll do it. He'll do it when we're ready. And so we have. You're
gonna DM a new campaign for us old friends, John. When once we get our lives together,
yeah.
You gonna come back to us,
John? My campaign and it was supposed to be a shared world with the desert bayou, and in whatever John had come up with, it was supposed to be in the same world, and I'd like to see that happen still. With some kind of shared history. Maybe visit Blastoise.
I genuinely miss playing D&D for sure. The same campaign. Perfect. That's exactly how the Wizards of the Coast write their books.
I don't think that's a good idea, because John's already told me about some of the stuff they've been doing, and he sent me links to his constantly evolving means of keeping notes as a DM.
I don't see how it could go wrong. It seems perfect. Just so long as we're playing, that's all I care about.
Yeah, I will. I'll work.
Also, I'm always gonna come to you live from this virtual space because the house that is around me I no longer own, but who knows where I'll actually be podcasting from in the future.
Brett.
Also, I think my background is like messed up, like it's backwards, maybe.
On the stream it looks fine. No.
On the that looks.
Yeah, now
that looks more right.
Maybe to you, but on the stream it looks exactly how it's supposed to look. Unless you change. Well, you didn't change it. Oh, no, you're good. It hasn't changed at all. So if you mess with a setting. it looks great. Work smarter, not harder. D&D. I miss D&D. Brett and I we're gonna make new characters, and we're gonna min-max them. Just to make John's life just a living hell. I want to murder hobo stuff things for John's next DM extravaganza. He was talking to me actually the other day. He was talking about not problems, but he was talking about how the party that he's DMing, they have an issue with authority, like an issue with trusting authority. And I thought that was an interesting kind of thing to explore, because as a DM, when you introduce a character of authority, you are acting as the DM, and the players are almost inherently distrustful of anything that the DM puts in front of them, because it's like, you're pulling a trick here.
Yeah.
And how do you work around that? How do you get around that distrust? Because if it was me, if I was that high ranking authority as a player character being introduced, the players, they might be like hesitant, but they're like, well, he's a fellow player, he's not there to kill us. How do you work around that as a DM introducing an NPC? How do you do that, Travis?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we haven't in the past played too much with like long-term NPCs that were run by our DMs. So I think there's an opportunity to, as a DM, introduce an NPC into the party that like you don't do anything crazy with. Like they're there for a while, or like they support, and then maybe have them go away, or maybe have them there for a couple sessions, and start to build that trust within your party to be like, oh, sometimes people show up and they're just here for a little while and then they leave and they do something else. And then you can introduce like, oh, well, here's this guy. And like, oh, cool. That's going to be with us and then they different, or like they bring in, they're nefarious or they're not, or, whatever. You can mess with it in that way. But I just don't think we've utilized that sort of a mechanic much in our, anytime we have like a random person join the party for a few weeks, it's because we have a random friend that wants to play for a few weeks and they have to leave, or they can't join us for a month or whatever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. Like even at like work environment or a networking event, like you can't trust somebody that just shows up out of nowhere and be like, I explicitly trust these people and all their motivations instantly. And so DM introducing a character early on, and then seeing that character is trustworthy, establishes that, okay, there are NPCs in this world that aren't out to get me, and are just there. Maybe this NPC that the DM is now introducing is not instantly out to kill me. I would say like in mine, like Escobar was like he didn't try to kill you guys ever.
The Lost Mines of Phandalin or whatever, it tries to do that early on with Sildar Highwinter or whatever his name was, where he was the escort of the guy that's paying you, and you end up not finding the main dude, but you find his bodyguard, and he escorts you back he goes back with you to the main town. That sort of becomes like the Phandalin becomes sort of like the core location where you do all these other side quests. But he could become part of your party, but he ends up kind of taking up a position in the town and becoming like a leader within the town. He's never someone that you can't trust. He's written in to be a trustworthy character, but he's also not somebody that's like part of your party the whole time. He's just like, oh, hey, I was with this guy. Take me back to the city. Okay, now I'm going to operate out of this area. But I think you could like escort quests could sort of be a good way to introduce a character, oh, you have to go into this dungeon and rescue so and so and get them out of there, and maybe that person is like reliant on your party for survival, but then once you get them back into the town or whatever, now they have more resources or more access, and so then you can be like, okay, this person like needed our help and now they're repaying a favor, or
Yeah.
they like almost like that character's built trust with your party, and now you can almost start to mirror that a little bit.
Yeah. That's a good point. I like that approach to it. John mentions Champ in Twitch if you're watching. Well, of course you'd be watching. Well, we're not talking.
Of course
to
you're
empty
watching.
Space.
Yeah.
He mentions that it's not just a lack of trust; it's also respecting them or their position. And so the long term trust that we have in an NPC that is introduced, that's one thing, right? But that is definitely a different relationship that John is promoting here. That the referencing as in his example, right? Like if you meet, if you're out in town and you stop at a local coffee brewery and you see Elon Musk there, you would have a different. You might have a different level of interaction or kind of respect towards him, even if he's an asshole to you, you might be like, okay, yeah, but his position is still something to at least be wary of and be respectful of. Like he's made his way in the world as a businessman, yeah, et cetera, et cetera. In D&D, when there's a lord or a governor of a city or somebody or a king, right? Players go into the hall of this castle and they're interacting with the king of the castle and they're like, hey, your face looks like a dick. Like they're what John's saying is there's ramifications for disrespect in that world, even if he's not inherently evil or I think
I think that is sort of beholden to the amount of leash that the DM provides the party, right? If the DM's like, all right, I'm gonna let some joking or some casual conversation slide because we just want to have fun, we're not legalistic about the rules, fine. But if the DM's like, no, you're addressing a king, and if you do not address the king with respect, maybe they've built a king who is, stubborn and prideful and does not take any BS from anyone. And so then you walk in and you're like, what up, king? And you put your feet up on his throne. maybe the DM has a consequence for that. And he's like, okay. And the guards seize your weapons and lock you in the dungeon because you disgraced the throne. And now that directs the story in a different direction. And depending on how much the DM wants to reinforce like the reality within the game, like if they want to be like, no, if you're talking to a king, you need to RP that in a way that you're actually addressing a king and not the way that you're talking to, the waitress at the bar down at the inn. Like
yeah.
you need to behave in that environment. Otherwise, here's what's going to happen. And I think that can establish a tone early on. And I think that's something that we in our group were very casual and we're all friends kind of first before we were a party. So, and we learned the game together for the most part.
Yeah.
Except for John, who went and learned all the details without us and then, ran 3 other campaigns at the same time. So but for the most part, we learned together and we have almost like a casual style that we play in. But I think that's where I would love to get in a couple of other parties and play with a couple of other groups just to see how other people play and experience those differences and see what I like more and what I like less. Because obviously, like there is a level of preference as well, right? Some people, people at work who would talk about their D&D games on the weekend. they're like, yeah, this guy never follows any rules, and he's, chaotic evil, and he plays to just like he plays against the DM basically. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like fun at all. Like
No.
that sounds like a really annoying person to share a table with. And so there's but for some they maybe enjoy that, and they enjoy going from a coherent story to all of a sudden planets are exploding, and like
Yeah.
things are just completely off the rails. So
Yeah,
yeah, how do you address the waitresses at bars? Your Majesty is exactly how
Please
I
bring
speak to
me
them.
some ale, Your Majesty.
Your royal waitress, please. I, I grovel at your feet if you would bring me a pint of your finest ale.
Please, please.
If it pleases thee. If it pleases thee.
Yeah, we learned the game together. We all started this game together, and we've maintained a bubble of D&D. Periodically, like bringing in my brother, or bringing in my friend Brian, or bringing Robert and Lauren, right, to play. Like that was the
Who haven't been back mysteriously.
They haven't been back. They're gonna have a kid soon, so they've been busy.
Priorities. I get it.
Also, they don't like playing D&D with me, probably. But a bubble, in that bubble is only periodically pierced just a little bit, never pops, and so we're still, for the most part, comfortable with the people that we're playing. John has expanded out with his DMing for folks that he doesn't know entirely. They're acquaintances at a minimum, and you don't know what the dynamic is that they're going to bring. You don't know if they're going to want to murder a bunch of people. You don't know if they're going to be like, I want to know how I can best buy stuff at the shop. You don't know what they're going to be. When it was the core class, whenever we brought somebody in extra, my anxiety. Oh, and my friend Jeremiah, right? That was another one. Like, my biggest anxiety was, how is that one person going to influence the rest of the party? Because I knew that you, Kevin, and John were constant. What would this one person do to the dynamic of this party? And it was interesting between Brett, between Brian, between Jeremiah, Robert, and Lauren, like what that actually does. But to have a completely new group of people that you've never played with before, it's frightening to make that switch.
Yeah, unfortunately, COVID kind of hit right when I was at the level where I was like, I think I could go to like a local game shop and be like, hey, let me sit down at a table and try just like a night with you guys, or like, let me see like what it's like to play with a completely different group that maybe they actually care about how much gold you have, or how much you're carrying, like, or using your arrows and things like that. Like and see how other people play and see what I like and dislike about that. But then people stopped meeting in person. So, and me forcing my family to play on my birthday is not the same as playing with my family, John, because no, it was me forcing them through a campaign and my son eagerly playing, but everybody else being like, what are we doing? What's the point? So that's a good idea. I'm here with my family. Maybe I should go downstairs and be like, guys, we talk about it. I think we should play D&D. I think everybody's here. We've got lots of downtime. I think now I didn't bring my books. I didn't bring their character sheets.
Just make it up.
So
just make it up.
Yeah, we'll just do an impromptu session.
The most I branched out from you guys was I played as a very, very temporary character in my brother's friend's campaign, and that was me. Well, I had no stake in it. I didn't create the character. It was created for me, and I just played to it, and I disappeared afterwards. I don't know what happened after it. I'm in this Discord for like a gaming league, and I just there's a bunch of games that are going on, and like Call of Duty and League of Legends, and there's one for a D&D league where they have a consistent campaign based off of Wizards of the Coast, all that type of stuff, and they have rules. And
is it like an adventures league or whatever?
Yeah.
Where it follows like the actual rules of starting a character.
Yes,
and doing all
yes.
that
There's
stuff.
like an auction house. There's cities and all that stuff. And I'm interested in it, but I'm also afraid of it because I'm worried that I'm a faker and that I'm not a real D&D player when it comes to that. Or I'm like, okay, well, I created my level 1 character, and they're like, actually, you can't have 25 feet of hempen rope as a druid elf, and here's why. You gotta remake that. And then like if I start playing and we're in our first battle, I'm like, okay, so what I want to do is I want to cast fire on them, and like, oh, well, you see, you can cast that, but let me tell you, Firebolt at that level is not going to be as effective, and honestly, it's going to be a detriment to your character in the long term. Just like.
I feel like the next statement in that interaction is, well, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm going to take my druid and we're going to GTFO, and then find a new table to sit at. Because I know. I think the one thing that has become apparent to me as different people have come and sat with us and played is, yes, we are not experts. Yes, we have a loose grasp on many of the rules. I feel like John's pretty keyed in on most of the rules, and he corrects us as needed. Like where I'm like, oh, I want to cast this, but then I also want to cast this cantrip. And he's like, well, actually, you can't do both those spells at the same time and do this or whatever, right? And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was the case. And then I learn a little bit, and then we all get better, right? But most people that have come and sat down with us, I don't feel like they've provided a bunch of like, this is how you guys play D&D. Like, really? Like, this isn't even D&D. What are you guys doing? I do you have any of the books? Have you read anything?
Do you even book, bro?
Yeah, I think that Adventures League would be interesting in the fact that you could build a character, take that character into different groups, and continue to level up that character, but experience a lot of different environments and ideas and like styles of play, but still have that consistency of a character that you're used to playing, that that you have developed and sort of grown over time.
Yeah.
And that to me is very interesting. And I would be very interested in trying to do something like that.
I think
at some point in the future.
You and I have talked about aspects of D&D that we have not really focused on or experienced for this, that, or the other.
By the way, if you're just joining us, welcome to the unexpected D&D post show.
Yeah.
If you have other topics you'd like for us to discuss, feel free to leave those in the chat.
Ask.
You're saying, Brandon.
Ask away. So like talking about like long-term money use or building your house and your court, or taking downtime to build weapons or research or do all these other things.
Even utilizing like the classes or whatever, not the classes, but the like, your financial levels. Like
you're a vagrant or you're a noble, or
what's it called, John? Where you could be like, it's how much gold you use in a week, and then you like live comfortably or not. What is that called?
Yeah. So waiting for John to say that, like those aspects of that, in a campaign or a one shot, you're not really, your lifestyle expenses, you're not really capitalizing on those types of things when you're home brewing or whatever. I feel like those really come into play, probably most likely when you're in the Adventurers League and you're like,
Yes.
okay, we finished a couple sessions, right? And now I'm relaxing. And in this period of time, like even in this Discord, there are different channels, like one for crafting and then one for researching, all that type of stuff. Like that's when you do these things in the middle of sessions, in the middle of one shots.
Yeah.
And that's when you have not just 4 or 5 people playing. That's when you have a big group of folks playing. I do.
Yeah, and they have to maintain that consistency, right? Because if you're going to take a character from one game to another game, you have to, if you bring a level 3 character into a game, that table needs to have a set of expectations about how you got from level 1 to level 3 and what you've done with that character to end up with the character sheet that you have at that table. And if you're like, oh, well, my character has all these, super rare and magical items, and I have all the like this stuff that, and I have a trillion gold and blah blah blah. Like, obviously something happened a little hinky, right, between level 1 and level 3, where whatever you were doing, whatever you were exposed to, you got stuff you really should have, and your characters become way more overpowered than it should be at that level. So I think they have to maintain those rules of like, all right, in this level dungeon, you're gonna get about this much treasure, and you're gonna get about this much experience, and you're gonna be able to walk away from the table with the bonuses and the experience and the stuff that you should have at that level, so that when you take that character somewhere else and into a new game, everybody's still sort of on a level playing field with that same expectation.
Yeah.
You're not just a level 3, but you're a level 3 with about this much gold and about this, unless you're playing that character in a real, hyper where you're really searching out treasure, and you're maybe you bull or something on the side. Like you're doing something crazy.
You're hanging out with level 20 characters as a level, and you're just hiding behind rocks.
Yeah, they're power leveling you by running you through, I don't know, Burning Crusades or whatever whatever they did when they were trying to get me back in WoW 10 years ago.
John basically said exactly what we were talking about. Maybe level 1 character is the son of a rich level 20 character who supports him financially. Yeah, I mean that's you're right. Like with the Adventurers League, it's not saying that there's a history of your character. It is a documented history of your character over time with this adventure, that adventure, yeah. And with none of us having done an Adventurers League, I can only surmise that is essentially what the benefit of it is. I want to go back briefly. John mentioning branching out as a DM being easier because it's like, well, this is how I do it, and we're playing my version of D. I think to a certain extent that's true. I want to give credit to Brian who came in like 3-4 sessions before the end of my campaign. Brian was and is the person who I knew who'd played D&D for years and years and years. He was the most experienced DM that I had known, and he came in as a player, and he couldn't have been more unassuming and just accepting of the world, and he like just jumped right in. He's like, yeah, I'm this character. I'm a dwarf, and I'm this, whatever you want, it's fine. And it was so easy for me to just say to him ahead of time, be like, okay, so like here's what kind of happened, here's what your character might know, and this is what's going on in the world, and then be like, you got it, okay, cool, I'm good to go. So
and he jumped right in and played along with the party exceptionally well, like as a veteran of the game, most likely would. but then also wasn't bringing any sort of assumptions or expectations like, oh, well, you guys should be doing it this way, or like, trying to disrupt the delicate balance, the ecosystem at the virtual table. He was like, yeah, this is how we play. Yeah. And okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to heal anyway. So so long as I keep the heals up, everything should be good. And it was great. It was, I really enjoyed the addition of him to the group.
Yeah. But I was still nervous for him coming in.
And then we never played again.
Now
we've stopped.
Then we never played again. Look, D&D is. I know we talked about D&D for the last 40 minutes, but yeah, it's nerdy, sure, but it is enjoyable because you're just, a lot of it is role playing. A lot of it's just making shit up. There's a lot of stress for building situations, but whatever. Yeah, it's fun. It's whatever.
It's fun. Last year was a great year to get into and continue playing D&D because we had so little other stuff to do. Anyway, yeah. So that's been the D&D minute here in the post show. For those of you that are, for those of you still watching, what else is happening? What are you guys watching? What are you listening to? What are you playing? Yeah, we got a good 15-20 minutes left. We can chat about some of that stuff.
You know what I was going to talk about, Travis? If you had decided not to show up for the podcast tonight, I probably wouldn't have talked about Justice League that long. I probably would not have talked about Winter Soldier that long. Falcon and Winter Soldier. What I would have probably padded that with was all the other movies that I've watched this weekend. Ghoulies 2.
Oh.
I'm just
Ghoulies
kidding.
2.
I only
classic.
I only got past 5-10 minutes of the movie. I also watched. There's a movie called Tentacles, which is from Blumhouse. It's on Hulu. It's a part of the Into the Dark anthology of movies. There's that film. It's a very psychosexual horror film. There's lots of sex in it. I like sex just as much as the next human being, but yeah, it was too much. It was too much. And so whatever. Then I watched the Brandon Cronenberg film, not the David Cronenberg film, the Brandon Cronenberg film, who is David Cronenberg's son. I share his namesake. I'm very, very proud. It's a movie called Possessor, and that film is about Possessor. Yeah, Possessor. It is also on Hulu, or it's on Amazon Prime. It's rated NC-17. I think the theatrical cut was rated R. It is about in the future, an assassin who can, using technology, implant their consciousness in another person to conduct assassinations. And this person in this film, she puts herself into a body of a man whose will starts to fight back against her implanting herself into the consciousness. So that's a very, very basic general synopsis of it. Very good movie, very gory, very violent, and kind of an upsetting ending. But it's pretty good. It's in line with Cronenberg, body horror, all of it. It's not like Rick and Morty Cronenberg's, but it's still pretty good.
Not like Rick and Morty Cronenberg's.
No.
Speaking of Rick and Morty, you showed your Rick and Morty bracket, your secondary character bracket earlier.
I did that.
We didn't really speak to it.
No,
I think that is a conversation that will happen next week.
I did that for Dom because I told him on Twitter that I would show him my Rick and Morty bracket, and I'd post it. But I feel like I should just save it just for proof on the 26th at 9 p.m. 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern. When they're going to announce it live on Adult Swim,
Right.
which is weird, right? Like, why would they announce the winner of a secondary character bracket at 9 or 10 p.m. Eastern on a Friday night on Adult Swim?
How does that coincide with the actual March Madness schedule, though?
That's good.
I wonder.
That's a good question.
Which, I mean, March Madness ends up like the actual championship isn't until like April usually, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's why.
I mean, I'm not expecting any maybe at the most being like Rick and Morty release date season 5 September 2021. You know, at the most.
Here's the beauty of this moment, everybody, is should Rick and Morty come back in some unexpected and surprise fashion, we know that I at least have some form of capability to podcast.
True that.
While also being homeless, because the fact is I am homeless right now.
But it looks great.
But
it looks great. It looks like you're at an actual home. I should take a picture of the back here.
Yes, you should. It is this virtual background. I'm so glad. What you got to do is you got to take your phone and put the camera of your phone right up to where your webcam is.
Okay.
And stand out of the way.
All right.
So that you take the picture right from the exact same spot that your webcam is usually capturing the space.
Okay.
And then you just throw that as a virtual background in Zoom and you're all set.
Oh shoot. All right. I'm gonna do that.
I just thought you were a huge liar about moving. No, all of this is actually in boxes somewhere. None of this is real. It's all a lie. You can catch the glimpses of truth within my headphones every once in a while.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? Like why doesn't the virtual background capture what's behind the like in between the headphones? Oh, sorry, you can see I'm doing stuff.
So if I was using a green screen, I think it would, but I didn't bring my green screen with me. So then I think that the algorithm like just tries to guess at the head and body shape, right? And it does a pretty good job. It doesn't capture the chair that I'm sitting in, which is interesting. That it I think because of the lighting with my light that I brought, it doesn't capture the chair. But if I sit back far enough in the chair,
if you sit back far enough,
now it starts having problems. Like, is that the shoulder? Is that a chair? It doesn't know. It doesn't. I'm a cat lady. I'm Taylor Swift cat.
There we go.
Jellicles can as jellicles do.
That's my
Scientists were working around the clock to solve this problem. I have a green screen. I'm not using it.
Hey, quick 6669 up in here.
Yeah, well, welcome.
You see it first thing you said to us tonight, I think.
Yeah, you could have been here the whole time. Just being quiet. I just realized it was a virtual background. Yeah, this was intended. We can go through the fun virtual backgrounds that I got for while I'm moving. This is the personal favorite.
Yeah, that is a good one.
That's a good one. Simpsons. I'm a frog. Yep. Minecraft.
These are all great.
Mushroom people from our D&D campaign.
Yeah, I realized that
Back to the office.
Right now I'm on the AE account, and so these are the virtual backgrounds from the AE account, and not your personal account. And there's a lot of Queen's Gambit virtual backgrounds.
Because I think you only use this account when we talked about Queen's Gambit, and then and you were just flooding it with Queen's Gambit.
That's right.
Photos.
Then
you started using your personal account again when we started podcasting.
That's right, because you started being the primary streamer from that point on. Man. That's great. That's great.
That's my favorite one was my virtual background of me sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk. And then the FBI charged me with sedition, and no one will believe me when I say it was a virtual background.
It's too topical, John. I don't like it.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's been our show. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah. The fact that I've snuck away from the family this long and no one has burst into the room to interrupt me it's been phenomenal. I appreciate their help. If you heard anybody in the background, that's life. Deal with it. But sorry you're facing 20 years, John. Brandon has found the filters and has now become his dad or Hulk Hogan, one of the two. Brother.
My dad's more like this. This is
there he is.
there
he
is.
is.
Definitely my dad's thing.
Yeah. And this is not a filter. This is laziness. So, all right. Thank you guys and gals so much for being here. If you are new here, if you're just hanging out, hit that follow button. Make sure that you follow so that you know when we're going live. Get those notifications, all that fun stuff. Thanks to those of you that continue to support this channel through subscriptions and all that fun stuff. We appreciate your love and support. And Brandon, great job producing and playing with filters.
Yeah.
And yeah,
no problem. Hey, check.
Is there any way to have that filter in real life? Asking for a friend.
Check this out, Travis. Check this out.
What am I checking out?
You're so big.
Oh gosh. Oh, he's back to editing OBS on the fly, everybody.
We look awful.
Look at our giant faces. Giant faces, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for having us. I'm talking like I can end this stream, but really I have no power to do so. So
yeah. Hey,
Brandon, it's all on you.
I want to say thank you everyone for hanging out, and until next time, I'm Brandon.
And I'm a giant face.
Stopping the stream.